Welcome to our latest 5 from the archive. This time it's with the wonderful Susanna Euston, who is not new to Camversation, but she's new to presenting to Camversation. She is going to come and share with us some of her favourite black and white images ahead of her workshop next week. There are some stunning images in here. If you haven't seen Susanna's work before, please do check out her website as well. So, Susanna, I've got to stop smiling as well, Susanna, because I smile too much on these presentations. So thank you so much for coming along today, Susanna, to share your passions, your 5 images from your archive and the sort of 5 images that really make you tick. And I really appreciate you coming along such short notice as well, because you're presenting to Camversation next week. And I know that this is a big thing to ask at such a short period of time, but thank you very much for coming along to share your images
I'm
today.
delighted. Thank you. Yeah.
Now, I know a little bit about you because we've had the pleasure of speaking before, which is fantastic. And I know that you kind of connected to Camversation because you're involved with different workshops and so on. You saw different people, but I'd love to know more about you as a person, you as a photographer, a little bit about your history and your background. I wonder if I could just ask you for a few minutes to share some of that, please.
Well, my father was a photographer, and I grew up watching him in the darkroom produce his beautiful black and white images. And my very first camera was a Kodak Brownie camera, one of those little boxy things. And I have to admit that I didn't turn out very many images that were worth keeping, but it was fun and I enjoyed it. And as I got older, my equipment evolved and eventually started doing my own darkroom work. And so I shot film for many years and did darkroom work for about 10 years. And then I guess I got my first digital cameras in like 1993 or 4. So it was this old Sony little box camera that was like 4 megabytes or, it was really, I took a floppy disk. And so that was my first digital camera. But it was great because I was traveling and I was able to take pictures for a project that I was working on easily with that. And then we were able to process them easily. And then my equipment just slowly evolved and my knowledge, my skill base evolved, my processing especially evolved. I found was that when very first really significant digital camera was the Canon 1DS, and it was like 12 megapixels. So it's so tiny, when I think back, but it produced wonderful images. And it took me a while, though. I was working with Capture One at first, and then I went to Adobe. This was over 20 years ago. And had a hard time adjusting to processing color images as black and white images. Somehow it didn't feel authentic to me. So I got over that after a few years because I really loved doing black and white. It was my preference. So I just gradually evolved my black and white techniques and continue to, the way we all do. We're constantly evolving our skills. And here I am today, a Canon 5 DSR that I love, like a 50 megapixel camera. And I'm mirrorless as well. And then I have my phone. I have the 16 Pro Max right now, and I love the iPhone. I find that if I'm out without a camera or if I'm out and it's just not convenient to take everything out and set it up, my iPhone images are wonderful, and I'm sure that a lot of us experience that. A friend who the other night said that he was in Alabama and he took a picture of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, which is a very famous bridge, the civil rights movement. And he said, I took it with my Canon, with my regular camera and then with my iPhone. And he said the iPhone photograph came out the best. He said, as hard as I tried to process the other one. Yeah. At any rate, was my journey in photography. And personal journey I'm also a graphic designer. So I've done a lot of graphic design work over the last 40 years. I hate to admit it. And, couple that with photography. And that's my
I think they
They
do go hand
do.
in hand,
Yeah.
though, don't they? I think a good
Yeah.
graphic designer can make a great
Well, and I
photographer as
think
well.
that, composition is to me the most important thing. If you can have a handle on composition, and the graphic design has helped me develop my composition skills. So I'm really glad I have that ability. Yeah, that skill.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I will say, before we start to look at your images, that your black and white images are stunning.
Well,
I've looked at your website galleries, and I'm sure lots of people have because you've got your presentation coming up. So I
yeah.
think lots of people will have already
Well,
looked at those. So we already know how great black and white photographer you are. So
thank
it's
you.
really interesting to know you've got that professional background
Yeah.
in graphic design to reinforce that as well.
Thank
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
I
Thank you.
also, by the way, did commercial work and portrait work for a number of years. So I jettisoned that quite a while ago. I'm just focused on nature photography for the most part. Yeah. And by the way, we live on the Southern Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, in Asheville, and it's just a photographer's paradise here. It really is. It's so wonderful. So that's been a big part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, so Susanna, we could see your first of the five, as it were, your first image. Really looking forward to this because I know how much I enjoy your black and white images. So please do start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Sure. I do a lot of photography in both high key and low key, or what I call low key, using those techniques. And this is an example of the more high key approach. I call this Dancing Dahlia. And this actually was awarded third place in the Nature Photographers Network annual selection last year, I guess. So I was kind of honored by that. But I just love the way these petals move and appear to be dancing. This area down at the bottom, I applied a texture because, like so many photographs of flowers and gardens, there was background distraction that I wanted to get rid of. Uh, so this is dance.
Can I just ask on this one as well about your approach to cropping and processing? Because this is a beautiful crop and it's an unusual crop, isn't it, Susanna? But it works so well. If I could just ask you about your approach to cropping on this one.
This is a I think it's a 9 by 16, I believe. And I just, usually I've made this determination before I take the picture. I'll pre-visualize my image and decide that I want to crop it in a certain way. So I used to be really anti-cropping, but I'm at this point where if I feel legitimate, if I'm pre-visualizing it. So yeah, that's what I did. I and this is pretty much as I shot it, minus a lot of material on the sides. Um, so I liked the way this aspect ratio uh, kind of cradled the flower.
Yeah, and it really does, and it creates such an intimate image. And for me, the thing that really makes it, and perhaps it's just fortuitous, is the white petal just creeping in front of the dark area there. It really just breaks that up, doesn't it? Beautiful.
Yeah, I love dahlias for that reason because it has the centers and the petals can have such interesting twists and turns. So,
Yeah, thank you very much. Shall we
okay,
move on to your second one?
thank you. Yeah, this one is a lotus that I photographed actually last year at a place called Perry's Water Gardens. And I love the gesture of this, the leaves. I call this fan dance. It just reminds me of a dancer with big fans. And I love lotuses and lilies. I really enjoy photographing them. And this is the more low-key approach that I really enjoy working with as well.
From a setup point of view on this one, Susanna, if I could just ask you about the setup, because this is so low key, I imagine that's quite a challenging image to take because it's so low key and you are isolating the flower. And I know we might talk about this in your session later, but I'm interested in your approach in how you isolated this flower so well.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I took the photograph and there was a lot in the background. And so I go through it in my processing. I selected out the leaves and the flower and the stem and managed to get rid of the rest of the background. So it did not look like this when I took the photograph. As so many garden photographs do not. They usually have a lot in the backgrounds that you really don't want to see. Sometimes I'll use a texture, as I did in the first image, to kind of blot that out. In this case, I darken the background and I can explain that more in the future.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. I know we're only on number 2, and I probably shouldn't be asking so many questions when we're only on number 2.
That's okay. That's all
But
right.
well, I suppose it's not a question, it's more of an observation. The way you've managed to control the highlights in the petals and the shadows, the highlights in the flower and the shadows in the leaves, is just absolutely beautiful, absolutely fantastic. Well done. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So this next one, I just took the other day. This is an iPhone shot, and this is a southern magnolia, and I love magnolias. That's another flower that I enjoy photographing. So this one, I did a similar process, but it was not as time consuming because there were a lot of dark leaves surrounding this. And I decided that I didn't want all of them in the image. So I very deliberately took them out and just left these basically there to be part of the image. So.
And you say that you're taking more and more images with your iPhone, perhaps. Was this
I
a situation?
take a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, was this a
Go ahead.
situation where you saw the flower and thought, I'll get my iPhone out? Or was it the case that you went out to photograph specifically with your iPhone? I'm kind of interested in people's mindsets around that.
Yeah. I saw the flowers. There is a street not too far from us that has a row of small magnolias with flowers that you can reach because they can grow rather high, so they can sometimes be really difficult to photograph. And I thought, oh, I've got to stop and photograph this. And it was one of those days where I thought, oh, I just don't feel like taking my camera out right now, so I used my iPhone. And the thing about the iPhone is that it handles dynamic range really well. That range of values in a black and white, or in any image, I should say. And so it was bright, and it had the potential to be problematic, but between trying to shade the area and the processing, I was able to end up with this. Now, another thing about the iPhone is that, if you like to produce large images, you can always use one of the tools to increase the size. And I use Topaz Gigapixel to increase images so that I can print them large if I want to.
Now, can I just ask you about printing? Because Topaz, Gigapixel, and these other enhancement piece of software now are enabling us to print so big. What kind of size have you printed up to with something like this, Susanna? I'm really interested as to what you've been able to achieve.
Well, a few years ago, a client bought three. He bought one image, but he wanted it made into a triptych. So I took I think the original aspect ratio was 9:16, which I really like as an aspect ratio, and I divided it into three, and I blew it up to 36:48, and each segment of the trio, and it worked beautifully. It really did. And those folks hung it over a big stone fireplace that they had out on their porch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, you can, the modern, the contemporary tools that are available are pretty amazing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a huge size. Gosh, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that as well.
Yeah. Three really large prints out of one.
Yeah.
But that photograph was taken with my 5 DSR. And so it was a fairly good size to begin with, but certainly nowhere near the 36:48 that I needed. So,
Yeah. Goodness me. Fantastic.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
sure. So this one, I love working with water. I love working with waterfalls and rivers. This is a waterfall that is so dear to me. It's called Euston Falls. It's, oh, I don't know, about 30 miles from here. It's in a town called Rosman. Um, and I went there for, I don't know, every year, multiple times a year, to capture the waterfall. And the thing that's so interesting to me is that when I first started going, I would capture the entire waterfall. And the more I went, the more discreet I became about, selecting sections and portions of the waterfall. So this is the lower part of the waterfall. And I believe, I think this was taken in autumn. I'll have to look at the date and see. And, uh, it was just kind of magical to me, the way the water was coming down, and I had these great diagonals, and then the leaves floating over the water. Um, so this is a photograph that I really love. I was just going to say I have so many different versions of this waterfall because it's a very tall waterfall. It's probably about 3 stories high, I'd say. And there's so many aspects to it. So I urge people, if they work with waterfalls or even rivers, to, when they get there, they may start large and then narrow it down to really interesting aspects of the feature. So that's what I did here.
In fact, you just said what I was going to say as well, because I think I was going to say that whenever we go to a new location, especially if we
Mhm.
are, I suppose, less confident, we tend to want to capture everything
Yeah,
because we want to make sure we've got the image.
yeah,
But I think it's a sign of confidence when you might get that image, but it's a sign of confidence when you then go and look for the more intricate details that are hidden, if you like.
hmm,
And I think this is a great example of that as well.
thank you. Yeah, you can go to the same location many, many times and get so many different aspects of it, and that's wonderful about this kind of work. So this photograph, this is another iPhone, and by the way, the previous was taken with my 5 DSR. This is another iPhone shot that um, I took off near the Blue Ridge Parkway, which you may or may not have heard of. It was a beautiful uh, route to travel until Hurricane Helene hit us last year, and it's still recovering, but they're making progress. But this was just off that, and it was a misty day, a very misty day. And what I really love about this image are these little quirky, uh, the little branch here on the left. Can you see my mouse? I'm
I
Yeah,
can see the curling
yeah,
branch.
the curling branch, and then we have this O, you know, and I thought that was so quirky, and I really liked that, and so I um, pulled this image together. I had to put it into Adobe Camera Raw, and I wanted to increase this sense of mist a little bit more. So I did that and worked with the clarity slider. But you have to be careful with that clarity slider because you can get some really weird effects. But at
Yeah.
any rate, so this is an intimate forest scene that I
Can I
feel.
ask you with this, Susanna,
Uh-huh.
as to what first drew your attention to the scene, or what did you have in that pre-visualized picture?
It was the mist, and then I saw these branches, the little O and the twisty branch over there on the left. And so the combination of the mist and the branch, the structures there really caught my imagination. Yeah,
Yeah. And it goes on from the previous image where you're not trying to capture all of the forest. You're just trying to
exactly.
capture one aspect of it to make it a stronger image. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, sure. I have one more. I have six instead of five.
I know you're sneaking a sixth one in, I've noticed.
Yeah, this is a totally different thing. I had a workshop out one day, and we came to this wooden bridge, and we wanted to kind of sneak across and take some pictures of it. And this person came out and said, "No, you can't come onto this property." So we moved back out to the road. But here he was walking back to the property, and I photographed this using an intentional camera movement technique. And yeah, so this was kind of fun uh, to do. And
Yeah.
I decided on a square format because I thought that worked the best. Sometimes you don't want to have too much information in an image, you know. In this case, I wanted to keep it kind of focused on the person and the sides of the bridge and the background. So,
Mm. And I think the square crop has helped here because it helps with the focus on the shadow, doesn't it? Because a lot of this is
yes.
actually much brighter than the person who is telling you off, as it were.
Yeah,
So
right.
those people in shadow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, when you said that this was an ICM,
Mhm,
and you may discuss this, so I'm not going to ask you to tell us too much that you may want to talk about in your
mhm,
workshops. Are you
mhm.
looking at just handheld ICM that may be half a second, or are you looking at multiple exposure
You
ICM,
know,
or what's your kind of
this
approach to
was
this?
handheld, and I honestly don't remember. I can try to get that data together. Uh,
That's okay. It was
so,
just out of
yeah,
interest.
yeah, but probably a half a second, most likely,
Yeah.
in that range. Yeah.
And the way that the image has been edited, and I know this isn't an editing discussion,
Mhm.
but I almost can't help myself. The
That's
way that
okay.
this image is being edited, those trees really, really jump out beautifully,
Mhm.
but don't overpower the scene. So again, a lot of time spent editing, masking, or is this a fortuitous quick edit?
I don't think there was a lot of time spent. No. The flowers up above, yes, but
Mm.
not this. Yeah, I think this was pretty quick. Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
look back
Thank
at
you.
the original and decide and to determine that. Yeah, I work in layers in Photoshop. I use Photoshop exclusively and work in layers always. So I use Bridge as my selection tool and Adobe Camera Raw for basics, and then I move into Photoshop to finish the images. So, yeah.
Ah, super duper. Thank you so much, Susanna, for going through those 5/6 from the archive
Yeah.
and squeezing that last one in. And just to remind everybody that you're actually on Conversation next week, and we've
Mhm.
got a live black and white session with you, but live black and white presentation. And black and white is something I really, really enjoy, and I think it can be done well, and it can be done
Mhm.
incredibly well. And I definitely think that your images and from your website are just in that incredibly well level. I think they're beautiful images. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing your work with everybody as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Now,
I'm
Susanna, what I
basically
can do at
going
the
to
bottom of
be
this is I can
sharing
pop your website
my
so that people
ideas
can see
about
your
black and
work.
white and
Is there
why
anything else you would
I
like me
think
to
it's so
share as well
magical
as
and
that at all on the
wonderful.
description?
And then I thought I'd evaluate. I know that a lot of people love color, um, and I wanted to share some before and after images, color and black and white, and ones that I think work better in color are better in black and white. And then I'm going to have a kind of a movie squished in there um, that will show us a wider selection of images. And then I thought I'd share the tools that I use to capture and the tools that I use to process. So um, that's the basics of the presentation. Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it very much indeed. Really am.
I am too. Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
Susanna, it
Yeah.
has been a real pleasure to chat with you tonight or
Thank you.
today in your
Yeah.
part of the world. But it's been a real pleasure to share your photography, and thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
along and doing this as well.
I appreciate it so much. I'm really looking forward to the talk. So
Fantastic.
I'll see you again on Monday.
See
Yeah.
you very soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.